The Varicella Zoster virus is one of the 8 viruses in the herpesviridae family known to affect humans. It is the cause of chickenpox and herpes zoster, commonly known as shingles. The virus spreads mainly through physical contact, but can also be spread by breathing in the particles. It aerosolizes from the skin lesions, allowing for others to inhale the particles. Once a person has been infected, it then infects the epithelial cells and spreads to the tonsils, where it affects the T cells. The T cells circulate throughout the body and thus allow for the virus to spread throughout the body. It takes 10 to 21 days after exposure to the virus for someone to develop chickenpox. An infected person is contagious from 1 to 2 days before they develop the rash and until all their blisters have formed scabs. Chickenpox symptoms include a rash that eventually turns into fluid-filled blisters. The rash can show up on the face, chest, and back, and then spread through the rest of the body. After having chickenpox once, the virus is inactive in the nerve tissue near your spinal cord and brain. That virus can eventually reactivate as shingles. Shingles symptoms affect only a small section of one side of your body. These symptoms include pain, burning, numbness or tingling, sensation to touch, a red flash that begins a few days after the pain, fluid-filled blisters that break open and crust over, and itching.
Varicella zoster virus, or VZV, has been around for a long time, but was not distinguished from the smallpox until the late 1800s. In 1954, Thomas Weller was able to isolate the vesicular fluid in the chickenpox in a cell culture, which later led to the development of the Varicella vaccine in Japan during the 1970s. In Japan, the Varicella vaccine was approved in 1986, and vaccination began in 1987. However, it did not become available in the US until 1995. Before the vaccine was available, the Varicella virus was an epidemic in the US, and it was quite common for people to become infected before they reached adulthood. Since the virus was so prevalent, an estimated 4 million people per year contracted VZV, and 100 died from complications. The virus became so common that parents would often host pox parties in order to deliberately expose their children to the chickenpox. It was typically looked at as a rite of passage for most families because it was believed that once you contracted the virus, it was no longer a threat. Although at the time, most people were unaware that it would show up later in the form of shingles. Luckily, in May 2006, the CDC approved the Zoster vaccine to prevent shingles. The vaccine can also reduce the chance of shingles by up to 50% and is recommended for people who have already had shingles and those who are 60 years and older who have had the Varicella virus.
When an antigen such as a virus enters one's body, the immune system's white blood cells, lymphocytes, respond by producing protein molecules called antibodies that fight off the foreign invaders. This process of creating enough antibodies to be efficient can take time. Therefore, vaccinations help the body to already be equipped to fight off the virus before it enters the body. Vaccines are made of dead or weakened antigens that can't cause harm. Although they aren't a threat, the immune system still has the same response to them and begins to produce antibodies. Over time, the antibodies will break down, but the memory cells will remain. These memory cells will have a quick response if the antigen ever re-enters the body.
We have came a long way since pox parties and are now aware of the risks one can undergo when infected with the Varicella zoster virus. In the past, the public misconception of the VZV virus was that after being infected once, you are no longer susceptible to the infection. However, as research shows, the virus can infect you again, but in the form of shingles. Statistics show that after the VZV vaccine was introduced, chickenpox cases declined. However, there are people such as those with a weakened immune system or those who are pregnant who are unable to receive the vaccine, which is why it is vital for you and your children to get vaccinated, ensuring your health and the health of those around you.